Hey everybody, it's PJ and Christine with For the Love of Dog, a podcast update, our weekly Friday update. Hope everybody's doing great. How are you, Christine?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. Hanging in there. So today's topic is it's not a fun one, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's one that I hate to hear and hate to talk, I hate to talk about it. So we're gonna talk about a few rescues that we know, and there's probably so many more, but rescues gone bad. And it's crazy to me that this happens, but it does happen. And Christy and I were talking just briefly earlier before we started that, when I first started our rescue and we had pull rights, and there's a lot of independent rescues, and they, independent with people who just wanted to rescue dogs. And of course, I, at the time, so stupid and so naive, thought, of course, I'll help you pull dogs, because why wouldn't we want to get a dog out of a shelter? But they never, often they didn't have the resources or the training or the smarts, frankly, to take care of the dog. And a lot of dogs got left in boarding. I know there was one boarding place, which I'm not going to mention. They weren't getting paid, so they stopped feeding the dogs. So that, it was a horrible, horrible situation. And I know, Christine, you personally have an experience that you can share.
I do. So, I mean, it's really how I found my own dog, Malibu. I was volunteering with a small rescue, walking dogs that were pulled from the shelter that didn't have fosters. They put them in boarding. So walking dogs, just taking pictures, trying to get them networked, posting on my own social media accounts, to get them seen. And one day the rescue just disappeared, closed their doors, stopped answering. The boarding facility was trying to reach out to them for payment. And as a volunteer, they're asking me, where are they? And of course, I had no idea. I had no way. I was getting the same voicemails that they were getting. So if it wasn't for the volunteers, these 9 dogs that were abandoned in different boarding facilities would have ended up back at the shelter, which is really unfortunate. And again, that's how I ended up getting my own dog. Was the boarding facility was threatening to send her back to San Bernardino shelter where she came from, because they weren't getting payment from the rescue anymore. So of course I took her home, fostered through another rescue, and ended up adopting her. But these 9 dogs, I mean, this can be echoed over thousands of dogs that this has happened to, that rescues have just closed the doors, taken whatever funds they have and disappeared. But again, if it wasn't for the volunteers, these dogs wouldn't have gotten out. They probably would have went back to the shelter and gotten euthanized. And now that social media is so much more, this was 11 years ago, so social media is so much more expanded now and advanced that dogs are getting seen, more people can help, more sharing. It's a good thing, that social media in that sense, because we can get these stories out. We can, people that don't watch the news, they are still on social media and can still hear what's going on, especially in the animal community.
It's true. And the animal community is very engaged. Now, I will say sometimes it's a little crazy, a little wonky. I know myself, like when we had our facility, our dogs got walked twice a day. They got yard time. They were trained. Everybody loved on them. There was a lot of good that came out of it. But I know even we were attacked. Like people were taking our videos and like kind of remaking them and saying, oh, we were like, hoarding dogs, or we were doing this. And here we were doing the right thing. I mean, not doing anything bad, and yet you still can get attacked. So I understand that. And I have, whenever anybody tells me about this rescue doing this bad thing or this trainer doing that bad thing, I always kind of, not even take it with a grain of salt, but I really do my own research and I get my own opinion based on fact and experience, not, the drama, because there is a lot of drama in a
A
rescue,
lot.
unfortunately. And I hate it. It's the one thing I freaking hate the most. Honestly, yes, you go broke, but the drama is the worst because it just takes your time away from everything else you're doing. We're going to talk about a couple of rescues, 3 in particular that we know about. It is fact. It's just, we're going to talk about a little bit how this happens. So I think the first one we have is the WOOFY Acres. And this rescue was pulling a lot of dogs, which a lot of rescues do, and we have too, but we have always taken care of our dogs. I've never jumped them on anybody. So, or just left them. They were pulling a lot of dogs, and a lot of dogs that had a lot of pledges, and so they had a ton of dogs. And so they ended up, the woman's name is Dianne something. I don't know her personally, and frankly, I had never even heard of her. If you know me, for 15 years, I keep my head down. I try not to get into the drama because I just don't want to get into it. But a lot of dogs were like confiscated. I think 114 were confiscated. I think many died. And you can see some of the conditions they were in. They were just horribly there. I mean, this one is so emaciated, it barely looks like it's alive. So, and yet they took a ton of money. Yeah, over 100 dogs seized from the property, and that was in 2024. And I think they just filed, in 2025, they filed a misdemeanor, and she had like a $250,000 bail or something. They took a lot of money. And yes, it always takes more money than you get in pledges, but you have to be prepared for that. So when you pull a dog, if there's, it's very rare. Let's say there's $3,000 in pledges, which is very rare. It's probably going to cost you $6,000 or $7,000 because usually that means the dog needs surgery or some ongoing care. And so I don't know. I don't understand why, this. I don't understand how this can happen to this magnitude, other than you're being greedy.
As the networkers that are out there, they see these rescues that are pulling a lot of dogs. I mean, that should be a red flag. And if you're not seeing regular updates on their social media or on their website, that's another red flag. The rescue should be transparent. If people, even foster-based rescues, we post our dogs all the time. We have them at events once a month. We lay eyes on them once a month, at least. We check in with our fosters weekly. So if rescues aren't giving you updates and showing what's going on with the dogs, that should be a big red flag for people. And I would question what that rescue is doing.
I agree. And, especially if they're not on the website. I mean, I know there's been some, when you're in rescue, you get pounded by networkers. Like, some so many you don't know, and they're always going to take this up and that dog. And once you do take a dog, and if they feel like you owe them something, and so I can't give you an update every day, but if my dogs are not on social media or they're not on my website, something is wrong. If we have the same picture, for 5 years, that would be a bad thing, and, I say that we don't always update our pictures because sometimes it's hard to get good pictures, but, you should at least see them on the website and at least some activity. And I agree. And I want to get back to, I'm not going to comment on it now, but remind me, Christy, because I'm going to get back to if you see a rescue pulling a lot of dogs. But this was a horrible situation. It's terrible. Dogs died. Dogs were seized. Now, they're back in the shelter because there's no one else. We're going to put 114 dogs, right? No one has that capacity. And it's just horrible for them. And probably a lot of them are going to be euthanized because if they're in a really bad medical condition, it's just like the worst, which you think the best thing to do is get a dog out of the shelter off the euthanasia list. And so this means they just go back in. So it really pisses me off. And yeah, we'll go to the next one. The next one is like, I don't know this person personally either, Miranda's rescue, but I can tell you when I was probably like the mid, we started in 2011, probably like 2014, 15, 16. I started hearing about this guy over and over and over again. He was like the patron saint. Everybody thought he was great. And I thought it was really interesting because I never really saw him comment, on the networkers. Usually when you rescue a dog, you send out pictures and you say, hey, there's a freedom stuff or whatever. But I never really saw anything. But, again, I want to emphasize that, just being in rescue, you're a target. Even if you're doing everything right, you're the target because people just want to create shit. They just do. And so I was like, okay, cool, Miranda. Well, he just last month got, I can't remember if they arrested him or not, but they did, I guess there's like almost $200,000 in funds he got. He was pulling 600 dogs a year, and they were euthanizing dogs by shooting them. And to me, that's completely unacceptable. I mean, if we have to euthanize a dog, we take it very seriously. It's almost always a medical quality of life thing. But, everybody has to be on board. The board of directors have to be on board. Like, we don't just do that. And I cannot imagine shooting the dog. to be euthanized. I mean, I remember again when I first got into rescue, I would hear about like some very rural areas like Alabama, Arkansas, and they didn't have an animal control. They would have the sheriff would be the animal control, and that's how they euthanize a dog, which I think again is unacceptable. But anyway, I don't know if you have comments on this one, Christine.
I know it's an active investigation. Like the search warrant was just served, I think, May 1st. So
Yeah, you're
this is
right.
all very new. And so far, they have only found 8 in a mass grave, but that makes me think there's many more than that that will be found. So, I mean, it just makes me sick that it even happened to begin with. But I'm glad that at least there is an active investigation. They're not. I mean, everybody's sees their work. It was different shelters and different rescues that were. I think Miranda's rescue was getting funded by taking in dogs from other rescues who couldn't place them, and different shelters that were paying Miranda's to take the dogs so they could make more space for new dogs to come in. And everybody has seized their relationship with them, so they can't take any more dogs in. But I really hope that this doesn't get swept under the rug. I hope it stays in the media, so people are aware that this is going on, and it just makes you more aware of asking questions and just being more aware of signs that are something's wrong here. And most of the time, it is the public who exposes these people, and for that, I am grateful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's just greed, you know. And I want to
Yeah.
comment because it says they were pulling 600 dogs a year. The Little Red Dog has pulled 500 and 600 dogs a year. 100% we have. We have never shot a dog. We have never let a dog sit there and starve. All the dogs have gotten vet care, even when, you know, I've gone bankrupt doing it, but they get fed, they get vet care. And so I don't understand once you have that responsibility, how you just don't do it. And I don't know if it's greed. I would love somebody to freaking explain it to me. And I agree with Christine because in our society, and it's funny because I read recently a lot of other countries that you wouldn't even think, like Germany and like China and other places that are doing these really amazing, they're passing these amazing laws for animal welfare. But in our society, you know, abusers are not really penalized that much. I mean, if you look at where the Little Red Dog was born from, that Michael Vick case, okay, he did spend time in jail. But he didn't come out like he wasn't sorry. He was sorry he got caught. And so we don't really do a good job about prosecuting people who do this. And to me, this is not only fraud, but it is animal abuse. And I think that should be penalized as much as possible so that not only is that person never going to do it again, but other people are going to like, maybe I shouldn't be in that situation. And maybe I should slow my roll and not pull 600 dogs a year because I don't have, you know, the expertise, the funds, the resources, or even the heart to do that. So anyway. Okay, the next one. This one is really, this is bad for me because we worked with working dogs in Nevada for years. I went out there and trained with them. I never saw 1 ounce. It was clean. The training was valuable. It wasn't abusive. There were so many people that had really good trainers. Again, that was my experience. I started hearing rumors. I defended them because we have some dogs there. And we did get updates, you know, I wouldn't say a lot of updates, but we did get updates. But then it came out that at least one trainer was abusing, it was one of their main trainers, and he was abusing the dogs. He got caught on film. The person who was with him, I guess she was also arrested because she didn't stop it. I'm not really sure. You might know more details about this, but this part is very disturbing. It's very upsetting. So, yeah, just want to give you that warning. But it's, you know, it's just not anything you should ever fucking see. You should never see anybody handle a dog like that. And, you know, we've been bitten, but I've never handled a dog like that. I've never hurt a dog like that. So it makes me sick to my stomach to watch that. And I don't want to see that anymore. Thank you. But anyway, Christina, because I know you read a lot about this since this happened.
Yeah, and again, I want to circle back to like the surveillance video. I know when people are like watching things happening, they're like, what, everyone's like, oh, why didn't you stop it? You see all these people filming animal abuse on the street I mean, Skid Row in LA has been all over social media lately. And a lot of times you need to get enough footage in order to make the charges stick. So, I mean, thank God somebody was filming. I mean, and same thing with I think with working dogs, it was a new employee and she was seeing things that she was like, this isn't right. She knew this wasn't right. And it took multiple days of her having to watch this. And I can only imagine how difficult that was for her, but she knew she had to get evidence. And because of her, that evidence closed down Working Dogs of Nevada. So I don't know if this was, like PJ said, if this was um, one trainer in particular that was doing it, because I know they had multiple facility or multiple training places. So it could have just been isolated to him. But again, thank God somebody stepped up and decided to hide that camera and get the footage because it would have continued going on for who knows how long.
Yeah, it is unbelievable. And like I said, I personally have experience with them. I've defended them, so that, of course, that makes me angry because I feel like I don't want anybody to think that we condone that because I would never. And I did not see one bit of that, not one bit. It was very structured. The dogs were well behaved, but no one was hurting a dog. So, and actually I met that trainer who is arrested. And now, you know what? I have been, if anybody watches me on social media, you know I've been like a huge antagonist against ICE, but I heard that ICE picked him up because he's from Scotland. And I'm like, it's the first time fucking ICE has done something right in like the last couple of years, in my opinion. Because I mean, yeah, I just that it's just, I don't know. And it's these people also were very arrogant. They asked for a lot of money, when rescues had no other option for a dog. And like most people might have put them to sleep because if you have a very severe behavioral dog and everybody can go, oh, you should never do that. It's hard because if you think about that dog, if that dog is just a dog aggressive, wants to kill every dog, right? Would you want that dog living next to you and your dog? Because accidents happen. People, dogs jump fences, gates open, whatever. So that's it, it's a liability, but also I don't ever want to be responsible for one of my dogs killing another dog, right? That would be horrible. And when I say my dogs, I mean my rescue dogs. Well, my personal dogs either, but they're all lazy, so I don't think that would ever happen. But anyway, it's horrible. So when you make the decision that, this is a dog that you can't, we've had a couple of human aggressive dogs, and that's a non-starter. You have to, either they have to be euthanized. Sorry if that's a very, not a very popular idea, or you have to find a place. And to me, this place was that. Like they had a really good training regimen. Their lead trainer had gotten like the highest score ever on their police dog training, exam or whatever, in practice. I met him. I trained with him. I really liked him. I mean, he was no nonsense, but I never saw him or any of them hurt a dog, and we've sent our dogs there. And so, of course, now I'm wondering, were my dogs abused? And you can't help but wonder that, and that is on my mind, and I don't like it. And I think, to Christine's point, it's hard to watch it, but you have to watch these things and you have to film these things so that we can get it out to the public because I know they made a lot of money on rescues, sending dogs there that just either had bite records, because a lot of insurance companies won't insure us if you have a dog with a bite record, Right. So it's hard as a rescue. I get it. And you have to make these decisions, but you should be able to trust the people that, claim and prove to you that they're doing the right thing, only to be found out that there's, something ugly going on underneath. And I just, I don't like it. It gives us all a bad name because it creates distrust, which I don't like. Because again, as Christine said, we've always tried to be transparent. We've never hurt a dog. I've never let a dog starve. Like, why wouldn't you? I mean, every dog gets vet care. I just don't understand it. And again, we've had a lot of dogs. We pulled 500 and 600 dogs a year in the good times. We're not doing that now. And you know why? Because there's no way we could take care of that many. So, Again, I don't know. I don't know if it's greed, stupidity, arrogance, or all of that, but it really is, it's a bad thing. And I hope that we continue to see them shut down and people demand transparency, and it's what should happen, because a lot of people are giving their donations, their money, and you don't want to donate money to this kind of behavior.
Hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of, uh, I don't want to say a lot, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I do believe that a lot of people go into it with the right intention and they almost get into that hoarding mindset, before they know it, they're busting at the seams and can't provide medical, can't provide food. And by that time, it's way too late for these dogs. And I think a big thing for rescues is, as hard as it is when you're full, to say no, that you can't take any new dogs. And we've experienced that painful decision ourselves multiple times. We're facing it this week. So it's, community reporting concerns is a big one. I wish that there could be regular inspections for all rescues, but there just aren't. There's not the staff. Cities and counties just don't have people that can go out and do that. And I think that's where the public comes in. We need to be the ones doing the inspecting. And if you see something that it seems wrong, then report it or talk to somebody about it. Trust your gut. People, dog people, people that love dogs are good people. You know when something's not right. So if you feel that's not right, then report it to another rescue that can give you some information about what resources you can reach out to. Um, because obviously we're not going to be able to have inspections.
Yeah, I think that's another problem, and we'll wrap up soon because I know we're way over our normal time. But you know, that is a problem for me because the animal control resources, we talk about that, but I'm not really sure what they're doing, and I'm sure I would love to get an animal control officer from any city or county on our show, because if you call, I've called, like when I've had dogs off leash chasing me and my dogs, they never show up. I've called when a dog is like literally dying in a hot car, nobody shows up. So it is frustrating. And I know that, you know, there's tons of backyard breeders in like the LA County area, and no one's really policing that. So it's pretty easy to get away with a lot of crap. And I don't understand it because that's the role they're supposed to play. And we could talk about budget cuts and whatever, but most rescues are running lean. We don't have government. None of us have any government contracts. We're not getting any money from the government unless we apply for a grant from a foundation. We're not getting anything but individual donations. So at least they're funded. So I don't understand why they can't do more. But I agree, we need the public. I would just caution that please don't start doing drama on everybody just because you see them pull a bunch of dogs. Maybe they have fosters, maybe that's a mom and puppies. I don't know. I would just say, be careful, don't start drama, but also I like Christine's thing about if you see something, say it, and if it really doesn't look right to you, I think you need to speak out because the animals need us. And that's the only way it's going to get better. And it's the only way we're going to hold people accountable.
Right.
All right. I think we've talked. I could talk more about it. The whole thing makes me angry. It really does.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to see dogs. I don't want to see dogs shot. I don't want to see dogs abused. And, we spent our lives trying to help them and save them at great costs in some situations. And I just don't want to see that. Anyway, thanks for listening to our rant. We appreciate you. If you have some comments, comment below, and we will be back next week. Thanks, guys.
Bye.